hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifesting. The gods work like appliances, dealing in my psyche.
Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the anime. And for those of you guys who have not seen the latest Boruto episode, I highly recommend clicking off this video because I'm going to be talking about stuff that's happened in the last few Boruto episodes because they've given us new lore information and now everything is kind of piecemealing together and we're starting to get clear in ways to stuff that happens later in the manga. But with that being said though, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you've already watched the latest episode and you don't care about spoilers. So I think that one thing we need to start having a conversation about is the relationship between Code and Jigen. I've had a few people asking me for the last few weeks now, like, hey, do you think it's possible that Code and Jigen, that Code was potentially somebody that Jigen put the karma seal on and it was just a failed experiment? And at first I said no. Because I looked at it and I said, well, there's a lot we don't know about Code, and given the fact that where he is in the manga currently, it's one of those things where I was just like, I doubt that the anime would actually go over Code's backstory before the manga actually does it. But as the weeks have gone by and we've gotten more and more additional information about the character, it's one of those things where I think that we need to look at the possibility that he might have been one of those children that Jigen tried to put the karma seal on and it just failed for all these children, Code included, and Kawaki was the one that got the karma seal. And the reason why, as I get to think about it, why I think that there is a huge possibility that the anime could do this is when you look at Boruto very closely as a story and as a series, one thing that's done numerous times, dozens upon dozens of times, is taking elements of stuff that's happened in the Naruto and Naruto Shippuden series and it's either brought them completely into the canon of the story or it's recreated other elements of stuff that happened in filler. So those you guys who saw that Crystal release video know that I watched the Three Tails filler arc for the very first time when I made that video, and one of the things that really stood out to me was the fascination that Orochimaru wanted to make Gurren his vessel. He wanted to make Gurren the person that he ended up having to change bodies with, but Gurren got there a little too late, and as a result, Orochimaru had to take another body. And you kind of have a same parallel here. You could have something to where Code is actually jealous of Kawaki, and so now that would kind of make sense why Delta's been teasing and saying like, hey, you know, it works out for you if the vessel is missing, and you know, I thought you were close to Jigen, I guess you aren't as close as you thought. And the thing about that is it kind of lines up with the whole thing with Jigen and the vessel and Kawaki going missing in the anime. That's actually a really nice element right there, because when you go back and you look at the beginning of the car actuation arc in episode 157, I've seen a few people point this out, but one of the children that was shown in that flashback, one of the children actually looks like it might have been Code. And if that's something that does get revealed, if that's something that gets tied back in, that is going to be one hell of a big brain moment. And I will go on record saying that the director that is overseeing the car actuation arc and this vessel arc in the anime is hands down the best director that the Boruto franchise has ever had, because that's hella foreshadowing right there if that ends up being the case. But it makes sense because in episode 157, when Sasuke and Sai were doing all that research into the car organization, one of the things we found out was that there are experiments going on children happening in the Hidden Rain Village, and we know in the manga that Kawaki was one of those children that was experimented on. And so it really makes you wonder, could Code have actually been one of those children that was a failed experiment, but a recent failed experiment? Because Code is a lot older in appearance than Kawaki. Code looks like he's closer to 17 or 18 years old. So it's one of those things where if that ends up being the case, it's something that could work, because now all of a sudden it gives you another way to look at Kawaki, especially given everything that's happened in the manga. I'm not going to go into manga spoilers because I don't want to spoil the anime only fans on that, but all that makes sense now. Why Code is as trusted with Jigen as he is, and it also explains why Code feels the need to actually prove himself to Jigen, and why Amado tells Code, like, if you do this, you're going to piss off Jigen. You don't need to do that. Just chill out. Let me look for the Trader in the Car organization. I'll get back to you. That's the best way you can actually do it. And so it's one of those things where if you have a situation where he plays the role of Gurren, where for whatever reason he wanted to become the vessel, for whatever reason he wanted to serve that purpose, he has a little jealousy towards Kawaki. That makes a ton of sense right there. That makes a ton of sense if you go that route. Now, moving things a step further though, it does make me wonder, is this the best route to take Code's characterization? Because I know for me, I just love the idea of the guy being a troll. Like when Victor lost the airship and Code was whistling saying, ooh wee, couldn't be me. I make sure that ain't gonna happen to me, fam. Like, I was just okay with Code being a troll, but now in hindsight, if you take this information and you apply it and you say, if Code has that relationship with Jigen where he wanted to be the vessel, what if the whole reason why the guy was whistling and taking that elated approach was the fact that it kind of opened up the door for him to start the process of receiving the karma seal as well? That's interesting. That's interesting because it makes you throw out everything that you have as far as preconceived notions for the character Code. It gives you another layer to actually look at him, and then it makes you look at Delta's words about Code was elated when they lost the vessel. Again, I thought he was trolling. That was a happy whistle apparently. So that's interesting. They just gave us something else to actually think about there. And the only thing I actually worry about on that is if you know what happened after Jigen has this big fight in the manga, there's a line where Jigen and Amado are talking, and there is a talk about certain promises being made and certain promises being kept. It makes me wonder how Code actually fits into that. That's the thing right there. That's the one thing that I'm a little worried about. If that's the direction they go, how does that actually factor into it? Like, that's what kind of keeps me up kind of thinking about it. But I was against this idea at first, but now that I've seen this latest episode 185, which if you've not seen the episode, make sure you check out the episode review. But now that I've seen the episode, I'm actually starting to warm up to this idea. So I want to know from you guys, how many of you guys thought originally that Code was potentially a failed karma seal for Jigen, and how many of you guys are okay with this idea if you were like me and you weren't in that camp? How many of you guys are okay with the idea that maybe Code is a failed vessel for Jigen? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.